What's going on, guys? It is U-Turn Crowbat here, and you are watching U-Turn Central. Now, before we get started, please make sure you go into the description and make sure you click on the link for the group Poketown. Make sure you give that group plenty of love, guys. Make sure you go hit that group up and tell them what you think. Now, I am bringing you another Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. Now, this battle is unlike any other battles. This battle is relatively long. So, it is going to be a bumpy ride, but I will try not to make it too painful for you guys. Now, I am bringing a relatively new team. You will be seeing this team in a previous battle. So let me just introduce my Pokes and we'll get right into it, alright? So I am bringing my Espeon, my Braviary, my Jellicent, my Nidoking, my Porygon, and my Sylveon. And let's get right into the battle because, like I said, this is a relatively long battle, but it is such an amazing battle. I know that this may have gone on long enough, but I wanted to try and get everything in because it is such an amazing battle and I really wanted to share it with you guys. So I ended up going out with my Espeon because I kind of wanted to feel him out. I knew what he was going to bring for our team because I saw it right there when you guys saw it, and I wanted to kind of feel him out. So I go into my Espeon to try and get my screens up, and he ends up destroying me pretty much with a U-turn. And luckily, he didn't take me out because I wanted to have a chance, to set up my last screen. I wanted to set up my Reflect. So he goes on to his Togetic. Not Togekiss, but the Togetic. Now, I haven't faced many Togetics, really. So I kind of wanted to see what this thing was all about. Now, he does get me down to about 33 HP. Now, I was able to get my Reflect up, which is good. So at this point, I just want to withdraw. I want to use my Baton Pass and just send out my Jellicent because I want to preserve my Espeon in case I need it later. Now, he ends up going for the Body Slam, which does not hurt me at all because I am part Ghost. Now, I do get the Toxic up, and I'm thinking, okay, that's awesome, but he goes for the Defog, and he just gets rid of my screens that I took so long to put up. Not really so long, but that Talonflame nearly killed me. So, at that point, I was like, okay, great. So now I need to try and set him up again. So, congratulations on that for getting rid of those screens. But he ends up withdrawing into his Hoodlum Scrafty, pretty much. So, I end up using Hex on the Scrafty because I did not predict him to really switch out. Now, it doesn't do anything at all to the Scrafty, so I switch out because I want to get more damage off on this thing. So I end up going into my Nidoking, my shiny Nidoking, because I want to try, get an EQ off or something, maybe a Poison Jab or something. Now, that's what I was going for. I was going to try and I wanted to go for my Poison Jab because I wanted to try and poison the Scrafty or something. Now, even though I didn't get the poison off, it still did a decent amount of damage, and that's exactly what I wanted. I was thinking if I was not going to poison the thing, then I wanted to try and take it out with any of my attacks with a Poison Jab, because that's what I was going to try and go for. But it did not poison, and I end up taking the thing out with my EQ, which is what I wanted. I wasn't sure if it was going to take it out. I wasn't sure if I used the EQ, it was going to take it out in one hit. So I wanted to, get the Scrafty low enough that I was able to take it out. So, I ended up going into my Espeon because I noticed he switched out into Smeargle. Now, my Espeon is a Magic Bounce, so if he were to use any non-damaging attacks, then my Espeon would have just returned the favor. So, he goes out into his Talonflame, and I go into my Jellicent because I'm thinking, well, I know that the Talonflame is super powerful, with Brave Bird and everything, so he does hit me with the Brave Bird, and he nearly takes me out, leaving me at 46 HP. So at that rate, I'm thinking I should probably switch out or poison it or something, but I do not have the time to even think. He takes me out one last time with Brave Bird. Oh, jeez, Brave Bird, you kind of suck. But that was an amazing play on his part because Brave Bird is such a powerful move and Talonflame is such a gorgeous bird. So, and I end up going out into my own gorgeous bird, my Braviary, because I want to try and do some massive damage to him. So, he ends up switching out and he goes out into his Togetic. Now, I kind of want to try and take this thing out as fast as I can, So I'm thinking, you know, if I can just bulk up a few times, or even once, I may be able to do some damage to some of his pokes. So I use my bulk up, because I want to try and get my Brave Bird more powerful than it is. So I end up going for my substitute, because I don't want to take any attacks any of his pokes can give me. He ends up going for the body slam, which is perfectly fine, because my Braviary is defensive. Now, I did not get hit with the body slam because I am behind a sub. Now, what I was trying to say was that even if I was not behind a sub, the body slam wouldn't have done anything to me because my Braviary is defensive. But luckily, I was behind the sub and I did not get hit. Now, I end up going for the Brave Bird. It didn't really take it out as fast as I wanted to, but you know, that's whatever, it's fine. Now, the Togetic ends up using the Heal Bell, and he cures himself of the poison. Now, I'm thinking, okay, I need to try and get that Togetic out, because if I leave him in, then he's just going to keep using Heal Bell. So I end up going for the Roost. Now, I know that I'm not able to take this thing out with a Brave Bird or anything, and that's not my plan. My plan was to just get my HP out, get my HP up, and switch out, because none of my attacks could do anything to Metagross. So I end up going out into my Porygon. My Porygon does know Ice Beam and T-Bolt. Now, my Ice Beam would not do anything to the Metagross, but the Metagross is damaged by T-Bolt. It's not weak, it does not resist it. It is damaged by it. Now, that's why I switched out into my Porygon, because I wanted to use my T-Bolt on the Metagross. Now, he switches out, and he goes out into his Togetic. Now, his Togetic is part flying, and he is weak to T-Bolt. And luckily, I was able to take him out because I don't want that thing, you know, using Heal Bell, like I mentioned before. So he ends up switching out into his Empoleon. Empoleon is such a beefy Pokemon, depending on how you really train it. It can be a really beefy Pokemon. It can be an amazing Pokemon with great attacks, too. So I end up switching out into my a Sylveon, because I want to try and figure this thing out. Now, he ends up switching out, and he decides to go out into his Metagross. Now, none of my attacks can really do anything, and that's perfectly fine. I end up switching out because of that reason, and I end up switching out into my Porygon because I want to try and get a T-Bolt off on this thing. So I switch out into my Porygon, and I do Trace. I get the Clear Body. Not that it really matters, but I do that anyway. So I switch out again because I want to try and trick him. You know, I know that if I switch out in my Espeon, he's going to take it out. That's perfectly fine. I was trying to plan something. I was trying to set up a plan for me to switch into a Pokemon to kind of do some massive damage to the Metagross. My plan ended up working because I ended up switching out into my Nidoking. My Nidoking is pretty fast, and so I end up using the EQ on the Metagross. Now, typically, guys, the EQ would, you know, take the Metagross out. I mean, I guess depending on how you train it, but as far as I know, if you were to hit an EQ on some Metagrosses, it would just take it out in one hit. Now, this Metagross was somewhat bulky. Because I did not take it out, I was not able to take it out in one hit, but he was able to take my Nidoking out with the Zen Headbutt, which is perfectly fine, because I was able to take it down low enough where I can get a couple T-Bolts off on the thing and take it out. But he ends up switching out into a Smeargle. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my Espeon anymore, so I can't switch it in to kind of get that magic bounce, but I ended up hitting the T-Bolt on the Smeargle, and at that rate, I was thinking, okay, well, if the T-Bolt isn't going to really do anything, then I want to try and get the paralysis off on the thing, because his speed will just go down, and that would be awesome for me. But it doesn't really work out the way I wanted it to, because he ends up using the Spore and puts me asleep. Now, while I am asleep, he does some awful things to me. He gets the Stealth Rock up, which is not what I wanted at all. If I had my Espeon, that would have been awesome, but I get another T-Bolt off on the Smeargle, and I get him low enough where I can finally take him out, but he decides, you know, I was kind of thinking he's probably going to switch out. He might even stay in, because I don't want to take any risks or anything, any unnecessary risks, but I didn't really predict, well, I mean, there's really nothing I could really do anyways, because he ends up using the Sticky Web. Now, that does kind of hurt me, only because some of my Pokemon cannot take a Sticky Web. So he ends up putting my Sylveon to sleep, and at that point, I'm thinking, okay, well, should I stay in? Should I switch out? Now, I do not want him putting any more of my Pokemon to sleep. I don't want him putting my entire team to sleep, because that would be just awful for me. So I end up staying in because of that reason. I don't want him to put any of my Pokemon to sleep. So I stay in because I want to try and fight through it. Now this Smeargle can't really do anything to me except keep setting up and setting up and setting up, which is awful, but if I stay in, then I can try and fight through the sleep and try and get an attack off. So he ends up switching out into his Metagross, and I know I am weak to Steel, but my Sylveon is pretty beefy, and I am still asleep, which really sucks, and I just switch out because I don't want to, I do not want to fight through that sleep while this Metagross is out. So I switch out into my Porygon. My Porygon can take any attacks that this Metagross can give, so I end up getting hurt with a Stealth Rock, and my speed does get down because of the Sticky Web, but it's whatever. I can't really do anything about it, so I won't complain. But he ends up hitting me with the Meteor Mash, which doesn't do too much to me at all. But the thing is, his attack did rise, so he ends up going for the Zen Headbutt, which probably would have taken me out if I hadn't missed it. But I end up using the Recover because, I need to get that HP back. I don't really want to go down to this Metagross, but he ends up using a Meteor Mash again, which still doesn't do too much to me at all. And I am able to use the T-Bolt this time. Now, he is living with just a hair, and he withdraws. I mean, it's whatever. It's perfectly fine because I will hit something with my T-Bolt. So he, fortunately for me, goes out into his Smeargle. Now, I end up using the Recover. I probably should have just gone for a T-Bolt right then and there, but I switch out simply because I want to try and predict that he's going to go for another Spore. So I end up switching into my Sylveon because of that reason, because my Sylveon is still asleep. If he were to use Spore, it wouldn't have worked at all. So I end up getting hurt with the Stealth Rock, and the Sticky Web does catch me and lowers my speed, which kind of sucks, but it's whatever. So he ends up going for the Taunt. Now, while I'm asleep, I'm thinking, whatever. That's perfectly fine. If he wants to use Taunt, that's whatever. I can't do anything while I'm asleep anyway. So if he wants to use Taunt, that's fine. So he ends up switching out into his Talonflame. Now, it's pretty funny because as soon as he switches out into his Talonflame, I do wake up and I do wreck his face with a Hyper Beam. I was so happy how that worked out. Now that Talonflame, I was thinking that Talonflame may have gotten rid of me, or at least just barely, if I had not woken up. Now, I was so happy how that worked out. I mean, how often do you wake up as soon as someone switches into Pokemon and just destroy your opponent? Now, I was really happy about that. What I wasn't happy about was that he switched out into his Metagross, and I did not predict the Bullet Punch. So I am weak to Steel, and he just barely makes me live with 12 HP. Now, at that rate, I'm thinking, okay, what should I do? And so I did not predict. Actually, he did hit me with the Meteor Mash, and I did not predict the Bullet Punch. I don't know why I did not predict the Bullet Punch. I guess some of the Metagrosses that I have faced just didn't use Bullet Punch or just didn't know Bullet Punch. So I kind of forgot that Metagrosses can learn that. Stupid me, right? I agree. So I switch out into my Porygon because at this rate I can just take this thing out with a Thunderbolt. Because his Meteor Mashes aren't going to do anything to me, and I do no Recover, so it's whatever. I can just, get all that HP back. But I do take him out with another Thunderbolt, and at that point I'm thinking, okay, that's awesome. I'm glad I was able to take him out. Now, he ends up going for the Smeargle, and I want to take this thing out as fast as I can because this thing is becoming such a pain in the ass. Now, he ends up putting me to sleep, and at this point, I either stay in and allow my Braviary to get put to sleep, or either I switch out and allow my Braviary to get put to sleep, or I stay in. So he ends up, I do stay in because I want to try and fight through this, because he does use Taunt, and that's perfectly fine because I'm asleep. I can't do anything anyways, so it doesn't really affect me all that much. Now, I am still asleep while he does switch out into his Empoleon. Now, at this point, none of my attacks can really do anything to the Empoleon. So I wake up, and I use Ice Beam, because that was planned for the Smeargle. Now, don't ask me why I did what I did, but I ended up just using the Ice Beam on the Empoleon. It did not do anything, as you can see, which is whatever. I mean, there's really nothing I can really do at this point, as you can see, because my Braviary is the only one, who knows Brave Bird, and I can't really do too much to apart Steel with a Flying attack. But this Empoleon ends up using the Substitute, which surprised the hell out of me, because I don't know many Empoleons who know Substitute. Hell, I don't know many Empoleons. So I end up using my own little Substitute because I want to try and get my bulk up, and I want to try and get my Roost. Now, luckily, he hits me with a Surf, and I do not get hit by that. But he did make my Substitute fade, which is unfortunate. But I end up going out and switching it and using my Roost to get all that HP back. Now, at this point, I'm thinking I want to try and I just want to try and do anything to kind of wreck this Empoleon. So I switch out into my Porygon. Porygon, almost rhymes there. Anyway, I end up going into my Porygon now. I do get caught in the sticky web, and I do get hurt with the stones. And at this point, I'm thinking if he takes out my Porygon, that's perfectly fine because my Porygon can't do anything to the Empoleon. So he ends up going for the Surf, and he does leave me at 39 HP, but he is fast, and he does take me out right here with another Surf. Like I said, I didn't really mind him taking my Porygon out because my Porygon would not have been able to do a thing to the Empoleon. So I end up going for my Braviary because I want to try and hit this thing, or at least try and get my bulk up and then hit the thing. So he ends up using Surf, and luckily for me, it does not take me out. It leaves me at 77 HP. Now, like I had mentioned earlier in the video, my Braviary is a bulky set, so that is why that the Surf did not take me out. Now, the reason why I used bulk up right here was simply because I wanted to try, I mean, it didn't really matter. I wanted to use my bulk up because if I were to live, this was another unnecessary risk that I took. I was thinking, if I were to live another Surf, then I would have used my Brave Bird right then and there because I did use my bulk up. But if that were the case, then the Brave Bird would have destroyed his sub, which was fine. But if I were to hit another Brave Bird, one of two things would have happened. One, I would have gone down to the Brave Bird recoil, or I would not have been able to take out his Empoleon with the Brave Bird. Now, even though I did use the bulk up, I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong. I want you guys to let me know, but I could be wrong when I say that even when I did use the bulk up, my Brave Bird would not have really done anything to the Empoleon, because the Empoleon, even though it's part water, it is part steel. Now, I do think, and I want you guys to let me know, but I think that the Empoleon resists flying because of that part steel. I mean, I wasn't really sure, and I did not really want to, I figured if I were to live, I wanted to try and get my bulk up and then use the Brave Bird, because that would just do more damage to him, but that was an amazing battle. Now, I am trying to get more amazing battles out of this team. This was just one of them, and I am going to be using this team for a little while. I may or may not switch some Pokemon in or out, but I will try and keep this team around for a little while because I want to try and get, you know, more amazing battles out of them. I want to try and provide you guys with a lot more battles that you guys will love. I want to try and get more battles out of this team because I do love this team. Guys, I do love my Braviary. My Espeon has helped me so much. My Porygon, my Nidoking, and my Sylveon. I just want to try and keep them around. So we'll see what happens in the future. I may or may not keep them. I may or may not switch some Pokemon in or out. But I am going to try and get some more battles out of them. So I won't take up much more of your time, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this battle. Don't forget to go into the description, go into Poketown, because Eman, I'm not quite sure how to say her name, but I will find that out because you probably will tell me. But he is a member of Poketown, so I want you guys to go into the description, click on the link for Poketown, and show them some massive love, guys. Make sure you join that group, and make sure you give them some U-turn love. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. I will be bringing you more battles to you. Don't forget, guys, RCS, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Alright, take care. Peace, guys.